everybody, Jessie here, and I'm coming at you today from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, my hometown area. And you might hear some water running in the background because today I chose to do this video out in the Japanese gardens of one of the parks here in this region. We're just so blessed with incredible parks and waterfalls and things like that. So hopefully that's not drowning me out too much, and if it is, oh well, that's the way it goes, right? So anyways, on this month's video, what I wanted to do was to talk a little more about, we have a turning point coming up in the year, and those that know me know that I like to celebrate the turning points of the year. There's, for me, 8 of them, key ones that I celebrate. And at these turning points, the one that we're coming up on right now is related to the harvest season. And it's very interesting because in summer we oftentimes don't stop and think about, we're thinking about relaxing, we're thinking about kicking back, being like the Leo, which is where the energy is right now. And we're thinking about, being that big pussycat in the sun. And yet this time of year, starting in about 1 week, we're coming up on our next turning point of the year, which is the first of, or the beginning, shall we say, of the harvest season and the harvest energy. And this is exciting because the coding in harvest energy is very interesting. Yes, we have success. Yes, we have abundance coming. But this particular turning point is going to be happening on August 5th. And that's on our waning moon. And it's interesting because it's also a very major peace portal. And that peace portal is coming kind of like in a series of peace portals right now of this beautiful energy that is coming into the earth, this beautiful opening that's happening around the earth. We have a really big one coming up also on August 8th as well with things. And so with this peace portal, this harvest energy, instead of relaxing for a lot of people, when we look at the harvest season, there's a lot of work to be done, especially when we're at the start of it. And even at the start of harvest season and all throughout it, it reminds us of so many different pieces. We need to focus on our own lot, our own harvest, what we're doing. Even though we're entering sometimes and we're in an era and a period of partnerships, at the same time we have to be strong on our own. We need to make sure that we're not being influenced too strongly by other people, which I see happen a lot. And these are some important factors when we look at what the coding is for harvest energy. This particular one has an extra representation of success and victory after long periods of trials and tribulations, and I think a lot of people are going to be really happy to hear that one, because there's a lot of people that have been thinking, man, I've been in, I don't know, decades or at least several years of what feels like trials and tribulations to me. But it's also a time to remind us that when we look at the harvest energy, it's a very present moment. And it reminds us that we need to function with what we have right here and now. You cannot speculate with the harvest energy. And that's something that may feel contradictory to a lot of people, because on one hand, you're reaping all the rewards of things. You're starting to sow the rewards, if you want to say that, or the blessings and the pleasures from the seeds you've been planting. And this is going to be a big one for that. And then at the same time, what we have happening is you can't bank on the fact of looking across the fields and going, okay, I've got X amount of acres that I can go reap and harvest and bear the fruits of my labor from, and rely on that, because at any moment something could come in and wipe those crops out. So the harvest energy also reminds us that we can't afford speculation. So when we talk about speculation energy, and I know myself included, I deal a lot with speculation energy. That's coded in me, as well as many other people I know. And with speculation energy, it's not just for the people that have that coded, or it's not just for this season. It's good practices any time of the year. But the speculation energy is about dealing with what you have in hand. Okay, and that means that sometimes you've got to tap into that creative energy, which is very favorable right now. Tapping into your creativity, seeing what you can do on your own, creating some of your own independence, and not having to rely so much. We're a society that has been sold on things like credit cards. Well, just charge it. Just make payments. We won't charge you interest for a year or 2 years or whatever it is, and you'll be okay. And we always think, oh yeah, I can pay it off in 6 months or a year or whatever, and then something happens and we can't pay it off. And all of a sudden we know we're paying these really high interest and it's costing us 3 times you know, what we would have paid for it at full price, so to say. So with speculation energy, it's about saying, okay, what do I have to work with right here, right now, in today? Okay, and speculation energy does not favor at all credit. It does not favor having outstanding things out there. So it's really important that we now put an emphasis on that. And a lot of people who are doing some great work are saying, you know, I'm doing all this great work, I'm being spiritual in the world, why is it not coming through? Well, this is a big part of it. And I think I talked about this last month as well. So we want to put a big emphasis on that. If you have to take a little extra work, if you have to regroup, you want to pare back and say, okay, maybe I don't need, you know, Starbucks 5 times a week. You know, maybe I can get by with once a week, or maybe I can, you know, buy the general brand, or maybe I can taper down a little bit here or there. And that's not about suffering and sacrificing, but what it does involve also with this harvest energy is being willing to give up the material, so to say, not in a suffering way, not in a deprived way, but giving it up in a way that then allows you to actually step into your power. It's really about mental superiority in a sense. And if we look at a lot of the wealthy and a lot of the people that are out there, they don't always live on credit. A lot of them are dealing with, you know, what they have in hand, and they're dealing with that mental superiority in a lot of ways in that sense. And we gain our mental superiority by saying, you know what, it's not worth dropping it on my credit card, or it's not worth going into debt over. These are times where even if you feel like you've got a stable job, for example, you can't rely on that to be there next year or next month or things like that. You've got to function in the here and now, so it's a very present energy. But I want you to think about and to focus with this coding, because this coding is running for a season, and we're now at the point where we're about a little less than 2 months out from when we can plant new seeds. So we want, with this type of coding, to say, okay, let me get out there, do the work I need to do to clean up and clear things out. Clean out right now the people who are not honest and trustworthy and are operating in deceptive and treacherous ways. If you are working for people like that, if you are surrounded by coworkers like that, if you have friends, so-called friends, like that, it's time to let them go. And this is a big period to let those people go, because what this is about is, as you let that go, you're going to free up a lot of, you know, memory, as they say. You're going to free up a lot of space in your life for great things to happen. And this is really important with the peace portals opening. So it's really important to keep on with that clearing out. And that's what the harvest does. It says, hey, we got to clear out what is choking out our crops right now. We've got to, you know, clear out what is inhibiting us reaping the rewards and the abundance. And when we're willing to give up materially by choice, then we don't have to give it up through sacrifice. And that's a really big thing when we say, okay, I'm not going to feel deprived. What I'm going to do is function in this here and now and present moment. And that's how we reap the best harvest, if you want to say that. And the more that we can step into that energy, the more that we can step out of speculation, the more that we can then step into victory and peace, and the more that we gain our freedom back. And I think that that is a huge piece, is we've given away way too many of our freedoms. And it's now time to reclaim that. It's time to reclaim that energy within us that is strong and beautiful and incredible and is willing to own that personal strength that goes hand in hand with divine presence, that goes hand in hand with being in that alignment. And you know, it's not as hard as it feels like, as we first think it can be. And once you do that, wow, it's incredible. And that's the turning point that, you know, hopefully some of these portals are going to open in people right now, is to get them to say, yeah, I don't need $200 pair of shoes. I don't need $150 pair of sunglasses. These types of things, and to get back on track so that you can have your freedom, so that you can have a life and be there. So there's really part of the energy and the coding that comes with this season, that comes with being in this opening and being in this turning point of the year and being with the harvest right now. And I looked at the coding particularly for that day, August 5th, which is coming up, and like I said, just about a week here. And so when we look at that, that is going to be a humongous, beautiful, beautiful opening that's bringing in loving wisdom, loving strength, great successes, and again, great victories over trials and tribulations. So if you've been through that, keep your energy focused there. You've got a lot to look forward to. Hey, take care. This is Jessie Ann Nichols George, and you can check out all of my work at www.jessieannnicholsgeorge1.com. Check out my work. I'm coming out with code interpretations, and this is only the beginning. Take care. Bye-bye.